wish we were doing this in AR right now.
A fighter jet that, they cost many millions of dollars. When they're grounded, it's incurring cost every single second that they're sitting.
In the military world, they have this concept of total asset readiness, which is really important. Having increased equipment availability, optimized logistics, and then, saving some money there as well.
The first time I tried Magic Leap and Sphere running on it, it was so magical, guys.
Here's the proposed ROI on this specific initiative, and we believe augmented reality is the way to go to solve this problem.
Keeping that data secure is absolutely a top priority and something that's just absolutely required.
We work on the edge of edge, right?
You're a chief scientist, but you're coming up with some doozies here.
It wouldn't be a leading tech webinar without the mention of AI. I think really what we're all talking about here is trying to communicate at the speed of thought, right?
Hello, everyone. And welcome to Knox's webinar on building secure augmented reality solutions for defense programs. Today, with our wonderful partner Sphere, in this session, we'll provide an in-depth explanation into key advantages of leveraging augmented reality, AR capabilities for defense applications, common use cases and security considerations of AR technology, real-world success stories showcasing successful adoption by a defense client, emerging trends and the future landscape of immersive technologies in defense. Today, you will gain valuable insights into integrating AR augmented reality solutions securely within your programs and kick-starting or expanding your XR journey. So we will have a Q&A after the show where we will answer all your questions. There's a Q&A tool at the bottom, so please ask away. So a little introduction to Knoxlabs. Knox is an XR launchpad, a marketplace, support, services, and discovery engine all combined into one. It is a platform that enables AR, VR companies to bring their immersive products to light and businesses to discover how to integrate this game-changing tech into actual use cases, where it is making a world of a difference in increasing ROI across the board, in training, in learning, and collaboration. We've been building for this space for over a decade, and AR, VR is still in its infancy, and the market is still very fragmented. So we have built Knox for a single purpose, to expand our industry, to be that open XR distribution layer, a launchpad for both the builders and the end users. So we can grow this space and get this amazing tech into as many hands as possible. Knox is born Spatial. So a little intro now to our panelists. I'm Taron, the founder and chief scientist at Knox, and we've been building in and for VR, AR since 2014, from manufacturing to development to solutions. I'm here to expand our amazing industry and give it the light it deserves. With me today, drumroll, I have Jason Lee and Jake Ledner. Jason Lee is the global head of sales at Sphere. He has over 25 years of sales and sales leadership experience, mostly at tier $1 billion software companies like Software AG, TIBCO, and IFS. He's a true growth-minded executive. Jason is most proud of his track record of happy, successful clients. At Sphere, he is genuinely excited to help companies understand how to leverage XR technologies to solve real-world business problems. That's much needed in our world. And Jake Ledner, who's a product manager at Sphere, XR product manager. He's based in New York City with 4 years of experience in enterprise software. He excels at creating user-friendly products that prioritize simplicity and usability. What excites Jake the most is diving deep into the use cases to help people derive tangible business value from XR technologies. Now, Jason, will you introduce Sphere?
Yeah, thanks so much. And Taron, before I do that, thank you so much for having us. I mean, we truly value these strategic partnership with Knoxlabs. As a true startup, we're proud of the relationships we've built with organizations like yours, with Magic Leap. AWS is another strategic partner of ours, and it's through these partnerships that they've been critical for us to help drive adoption of AR technologies at really large global brands like Volkswagen, Pfizer, Eli Lilly, Micron, Airbus. These are large organizations that have invested not only in AR technology, but in a small startup like Sphere. And it's through great partnerships like ones with Knoxlabs and Magic Leap that we've been able to drive that. So thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Jason. It's a complete pleasure, and I completely agree. Like, this is the only way forward.
Yeah. So a little ditty about Sphere. We were founded in 2015, which makes us an early entrant into the AR solution space. We are a device-agnostic augmented reality software solution, and we've been able to secure Series A funding around 3 years now. And we were built for purpose for augmented reality. And what I mean by that is we're not a VR gaming solution or a training solution that's added AR capabilities. We are not an ERP or a PLM, another business application that's looking to add AR capabilities. We were designed, engineered, and developed with AR and MR capabilities as the core competency of the value we bring to our clients. And our focus has been strictly on business to business as our go-to-market. And so I love your tagline of Born Spatial. I plan on co-authoring that, or for lack of a better term, stealing it. I think I'm going to use that one. And if the listeners today only remember one thing from my part of the presentation, it's this: the core competency of Sphere and what we believe we do better than anyone else is this concept of spatial collaboration. And for us, we define that as multiple users on multiple devices working in a single session and experiencing a truly immersive shared experience. Our goal is to democratize AR for the enterprise, for businesses, and promote adoption. And it's really this concept of collaboration that's going to help proliferate this technology within the enterprise. And this core capability of spatial collaboration, it's really embedded in everything we do when it comes to like typical use cases like training and remote assistance. And these use cases we'll talk about in more detail. My colleague Jake will cover that off in our discussion. But it's really it's embedded in everything we do.
Awesome, Jason. Thank you for that. Yeah, Born Spatial, actually, I got it from our friends at Magic Leap. I was like having a conversation, came up in conversation. So I was like, that described as awesome. Thank you. So I want to talk a little about the state of the industry right now. So as many of you know, that there's it's the many world of ours, many world of realities. Today we're going to be talking about one of those realities mostly. But Jake, can you give us a little breakdown of all the worlds of ours?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again, Taron, for having us and to the Knoxlab team. So yeah, for all those listening, it can certainly be confusing, all the acronyms here, but we'll try to make it as crystal clear as possible. So virtual reality is this complete immersion into a digital environment, really transporting you into a world that is really artificially created. And so you wear a device that fully covers your eyes, and everything that you see is something that's artificial. And so this is really great for applications like gaming and training, where you really want to control every little detail of the environment. Virtual reality really allows you to do that. These are the devices that have been most commonplace over the last couple of years, but we're starting to see that tide shift a little bit. So this takes me into the next area, which is augmented reality, which is similar to virtual reality in some ways, but very different in others. The primary difference being that augmented reality takes digital elements and places them in your real world environment. So this is the category of devices like Magic Leap and HoloLens, where you really have a device that is more like glasses, and you can see through the form factor, see the full environment that you're in, but then also there's digital assets that show up in your space and can be interactable with the environment that you're in. So that's augmented reality, which then takes us to mixed reality, which is a bit of a mix, as the name implies, between virtual reality and augmented reality. And so what mixed reality really does is it is still like a virtual reality headset. And actually, we're seeing this more as an extension of the existing VR headsets. But it provides a technology called pass-through. And what pass-through does is it allows you, through cameras that are on the device, to see the world around you as if you typically would with your own eyes. But it's actually just a reprojection from the cameras. And then you can insert other digital assets like seen in augmented reality as well. So this new class of devices makes up devices like Apple Vision Pro, the new Quest 3, Vive, other technologies or other devices that have this pass-through technology fall into this category of mixed reality. And of course, then that brings the question of what is XR? Well, XR, some people call it extended reality. Some say the X is a variable that stands for everything else. But it really is this catch-all category of AR, VR, MR, all these devices combined, and it connotes this broader industry of immersive technologies or spatial computing technologies.
Awesome. Yeah, that's my favorite's XR. So thanks for that great summary, the R's of reality. But today we're going to be diving in augmented reality specifically. Jake, can you tell us some like common use cases of AR?
Sure. So yeah, I'll touch on each one of these individually. And as Jason mentioned before, collaboration kind of underpins them all, but I'll talk about it in isolation as well. So starting from the left, we have remote assistance, which is one of the most tried and true use cases in AR today. And what this really entails is having one user who's on site in a physical environment where some action needs to take place. Let's say there's a repair that needs to be done, a maintenance procedure, some diagnostic procedure, and there's a user who's there, but maybe that user doesn't have all of the experience or the knowledge or know how to go and execute what it is that they're trying to do. And so they're calling a friend for help, essentially. And so this friend for help is an expert who could be somewhere, anywhere in the world, but that person is an expert on this technology or this situation that's occurring. And the person who is on site is now wearing an augmented reality headset. And what that allows this user to do is not just stream everything that they're seeing, and with that, then the expert can basically see through the eyes of the person who's on site, which is, really amazing. But even further than that, the expert can actually have some agency over this environment that the on-site user is in. So they can do things like live annotation, where they can circle something on the screen that then shows up in 3D for the person wearing the headset. They can bring in different media files to help guide the person who's on site through a procedure or through a process they might not be so familiar with. And all of this includes bidirectional video and audio streaming. So it's just like a Teams call or FaceTime call, but with these added elements of spatial annotations and spatial information being brought to the scene. So that's remote assistance. And the next use case that we'll talk about is spatial presentations. So these are quite similar to your regular 2D presentations that everybody's quite familiar with, but this is basically pulling those 2D presentations off of the screen and putting them into real life. And what this entails is usually you have some asset that is maybe super large in scale or difficult to transport. And perhaps you want to show it at a trade show or in a conference room. And in the traditional setting, it would be pretty infeasible to do that. you can use spatial presentations to demonstrate what this thing looks like. And this can also be applied to things that are not even created yet, right? Say a concept car or an idea or a new design. You can bring those into a presentation and navigate frame by frame, just like you would in a 2D presentation. But in this way, you can bring in things like 3D models that have different animations on them. You can break them down into different parts and subsections and really curate this immersive experience for those who are viewing the presentation to get a unique understanding of what's being shown. And beyond that, you can also wow this person by showing them how this thing works with immersive technology in a way that's really novel and unique, and perhaps some people have never experienced before. So presentations often require multiple people, and remote assistance often requires multiple people, and you can really have any number of people participating. But a lot of the power really comes in when multiple users have headsets of their own and can collaborate with one another, regardless of where they're located in space. And so this brings us to the third common AR use case, which is collaboration. And so as you'll see in the image here, we've got someone wearing a headset and another user visualized as an avatar. So this is typically how collaboration works. When two users are not physically in the same place, you can visualize users as avatars who are not physically with you. And through that, you can have this shared sense of presence and intentionality where another user might be looking at something or manipulating something, and all of their changes are live synchronized in real time. And any user who's in the same place can also then experience those live synchronizations with other people who are physically co-located with them. So collaboration really allows for people to work together. And we typically think of VR as potentially being something that's isolating or single player, but it's very much not the case in the broader XR industry. Using AR technologies, you can have multiple users in the same place or in different places, all collaborating in a shared sense of space. So lastly, we'll touch on guided training, which is one of the other most common use cases of AR. And what this allows is for users to be guided through a process, either via SOPs or procedures that are digitalized, but not just show those digital instructions, but show them in a spatial way. So this is great also for hands-free execution, right? You can have these work instructions just floating in space. And you can also bring in attachments to different workflow steps that might include images, videos, PDFs that have manuals or other procedures written down, or even 3D models that can be animated as well. These can all be attached to different steps, helping the user to understand what they're supposed to do at a given point in time. And beyond that, these instructions can actually be spatially anchored. So you can show that, hey, step one is over here on this part of a machine. Step two is over here on this other part of a factory floor. And so not just guiding the user through text instructions and attachments, you can actually guide them through space, showing them how to navigate a space in order to go to wherever the next step is. So guided training is something that is really valuable in terms of presenting information and transferring knowledge and getting people up to speed on things they maybe haven't been familiar with up until this point.
I wish we were doing this in AR right now. This presentation in collaboration mode with guidance. So, thanks, Jake, for that. Like it's really great to see like these general use cases. But like many of our attendees here are from the defense industry. How do these play specifically into defense applications?
Yeah, so let me start, Taron, by answering that in a more general sense. And at the risk of oversimplifying it, I believe the foundational benefit of augmented reality for both business and defense organizations is this problem that we have been trying to solve for a very, very long time. And that's the ability to get the right data to the right person at the right time with the right context. And the end goal of being able to solve that business problem is you allow people to make impactful business decisions with the right data so that they can either provide cost savings to the company, provide a great experience for their customers. So, augmented reality has really come, especially with the use of it within a headset, the ability to get real-time data. It's really become a great medium for organizations to be able to try to solve this business problem around getting the right data to the right person at the right time with the right context. And if we take it down a layer and say, well, what does that mean for defense organizations? It leads to improved operational decision making, right? So again, for the audience here, I don't need to emphasize how critical some decisions in the field can be, especially in wartime scenarios, right? The ability for decision makers to have the right data and make impactful decisions. It's not about revenue at that point. It's about saving lives. And I think that's, again, a really critical factor that augmented reality can support. It's also around enhanced situational awareness, right? So this concept of being able to deploy assets to the right area. In business, they talk about it as just-in-time logistics for inventory management. That concept applies again with extra impact in the defense world. And then, typical things or data like the benefits of training and utilizing different mediums for people that have different learning abilities or that learn through different mediums. This concept of using AR to upskill the workforce, I think that's one that there's tremendous value there, and the KPIs hold true. And then finally, from a maintenance perspective, again, this concept of remote assistance supporting maintenance. And in the military world, they have this concept of total asset readiness, which is really important. And so, having increased equipment availability, optimized logistics, and then, saving some money there as well. All of these KPIs come into play and are affected by augmented reality.
Jason, that was great. So now that we've gone to the top of the funnel for AR defense applications, is there a specific success story you can share?
Yeah. So, if we look to the next slide, here we go. We wanted to talk a little bit about RUAG. Now, the delicate or the interesting thing about working in this space is often our clients are very secretive and confidential about what we're doing with them. So it kind of puts a little bit of a ceiling or handcuffs on us. But we can talk about RUAG, and RUAG is a diversified defense services company based in Switzerland. They are a key technology partner of the Swiss Armed Forces, and RUAG really focuses on lifecycle management, operations, and availability of military systems. So one of the things that they were looking to overcome from a challenge perspective was relating to speed and efficiency of production, assembly, and maintenance of all the Swiss Army's land and air assets. And they wanted to see if augmented reality could support, again, this concept of total asset readiness for the Swiss Army. And then I'll pivot over to my colleague, Jake, to give you some more details on what we're doing with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing the context, Jason. So what RUAG has been super interested in terms of their AR use cases around maintenance for fighter jets and other military aircrafts. So many of their customers are militaries around the world. Jason mentioned the Swiss Armed Forces, and RUAG has their headquarters in Switzerland. So they have a bunch of really smart knowledge workers in Switzerland who are very well versed in how to maintain, repair, overhaul aircrafts. But the challenge is that when these aircrafts run into technical challenges, they can be anywhere in the world at this time. And it's quite unpredictable where these aircrafts will be. And so not always do they have somebody who's on site where that aircraft is to be able to perform that maintenance procedure. But they generally do have somebody who's capable of doing some maintenance procedures, but they may not know specifically the one that is required in this given instance. And so In this way, they'll have an on-site technician who is joined to a session with an expert who is back at the headquarters in Switzerland. And the headset wearer will try to diagnose the issue, run through some preliminary checks, and help gather information to which the expert can help guide them and point them in the right direction and say, hey, look over here, do some live annotations to guide the on-site technician to help either gather more information or also perform the necessary procedure in order to get this aircraft back up and running again. And the reason why they really look to AR and look to Sphere for this solution is, when you have a fighter jet that, they cost many millions of dollars, when they're grounded, it's incurring costs every single second that they're sitting without being operational. And so the time that it would take to, let's say, fly out the person with the knowledge to go and get this jet back up and running can be quite a challenge logistically, and then also from a cost standpoint. And so if they can triage this issue with an expert in one central location and then different technicians around the world who are on site with those military assets, it can be a highly scalable approach to distributing this knowledge and not just performing the task of getting the military aircraft back in the sky, but also of training up these individuals who are on the various sites and helping out their customers and their clientele who need assistance as quickly as possible.
Great. Jake, Jason, thank you for that. Here's the video showcasing it, like Jake will run through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we're showing a bit the spatial collaboration capabilities. We've got multiple users who are in a session at the same time together. You can view another person who's manipulating a 3D asset, and you can see all their changes synchronized in real time. So in this case, we've got a 3D model of kind of a one-to-one representation of this fighter jet here. And users can then create annotations on this digital representation, digital twin per se, of the real thing. And then an on-site operator can really see where those annotations come into play and visualize very clearly what it is that they need to do based on how other users who are in the session are collaborating with that digital representation of the same thing. So if we go to the next slide, we can look into a bit the how this changes a bit in a remote assistance scenario. And typically remote assistance, right? Remember, we're thinking of somebody who is either on a PC or a tablet or even a mobile phone, and they're potentially joined to a session with another user who's on a headset. I mean, this remote assistance, of course, can occur, multiple users on a headset. It certainly is another scenario that Sphere supports. But in this case, we've got a user who's on a PC and another user who is wearing a headset. And so this is what the headset or what the PC user is seeing, right? They join the session and immediately they see through the eyes of the headset wearer. So my colleague Hugo in the bottom right, he's seeing through the eyes of the headset wearer. And when you have an asset like this that you're trying to do a maintenance procedure on, it can be really valuable to bring into the field of view of the headset wearer some assets that are going and some media files that are going to be instrumental in helping them execute whatever it is, the task that they need to do. And so in this case, we bring in a PDF, which is the flight manual for this specific aircraft. And a great thing about remote assistance and collaboration is that everything, like I said before, is live and synchronized in real time. So if the expert navigates to a specific page, they can actually serve up specific pieces of information and bring that directly into the field of view of the headset wearer. So as you just saw, this flip directly to the page that the expert had orchestrated. And you can also do image annotations where you bring in certain media files. So this can be either a screenshot or something that was previously uploaded. And this can help to direct somebody's attention to something specific. This can then show up in the scene and You can provide, very specific instructions relative to what it is that you're trying to instruct the on-site person to do. Similarly, live annotation can be done, so an expert can draw on their screen and it shows up in the 3D space of the headset wearer. So there's really a number of features that enable an on-site technician to be guided by an expert. And the really powerful thing here is that they don't necessarily need to source all this knowledge themselves, right? The expert can be individually choosing the files that are going to be relevant for this particular action, and then bring them all into the scene and talk through it with the person who's on call with them. So as you'll see also, you can also just visualize like you would in Teams, the person who's on the other end, so you can get that real personal feel to the procedure that's going on here. And so, this guidance can just be really tailored to specifically what needs to be done. You can have this bidirectional audio and video, and then even further, bring in all of the assets that are relevant to performing this.
Thanks, Jake. This is awesome.
If I could just jump in real quick there. I think, if your audience is trying to think of the art of the possible, again, this is another great example of augmented reality being a perfect medium for many of the types of initiatives your organization is talking about, right? So digital twins comes into play in addition to, remote assist and training and all these types of things. So again, as you think about the initiatives and projects and programs you're working on, think about the medium output for that. Traditional 2D applications now, is that the best way to be outputting and collaborating on whatever initiative that you're working on? Augmented reality might be a better answer.
Yeah, I agree with you, Derek, wholeheartedly, and I love that. You guys are taking like a very human centric approach, right? Like it's augmenting, pun intended, the regular workflow that everyone goes through, and even though it's it's a very specific field with all its security and complexities, it's still daily tools we use, and it's really important to really expand on that and create the lowest barrier of entry. So I love that here, with the Magic Leap is able to just see a video instead of holding a phone to project that. It's just as simple as that, and then that integrates back into the tools that are being used. And it would be next step would be awesome. If that, it was funny. I was looking at the PDF of an F-16. We should GPT that completely in the environment. And also I remember the first time I tried Magic Leap and it was Sphere running on it. It was so magical, guys. It was so raw and just interacting with someone else wearing the device in real time with playing with an object. It just felt so good. It was so different than on a 2D screen.
It feels natural.
So
it's interacting with physical objects. It just feels like it should, right?
Yeah, I could feel the resistance of the controller, and the control is pretty good. Gives feedback too. So it was magical. It put the magic in front of Leap and Sphere. So yeah, I think it's really important to not trying to reinvent how people work, but building a product that augments the daily complexities really well. So, but even though it's regular work things, this isn't a regular work complexity in this sphere. Right, Sphere team, security is paramount in defense. So. What have Jake what have you seen are the top security concerns from defense clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have them listed here, right? Data security is absolutely paramount, especially in the defense space. if you're dealing with, highly sensitive data and let's say 3D models, CAD models that come from another source system, or even, as we just showed, PDF documents that might maintain the spec for an F-16, right? It's these things are super important to keep under wraps. They could be IP that's worth, tremendous amounts of money, or even, necessary for national security, right? So keeping that data secure is absolutely a top priority, and something that Sphere has kind of built into our system as table stakes, right? Something that's just absolutely required. Another thing that's extremely important is giving deployment flexibility options. So some customers are very flexible with how they want to deploy. They want whatever's easiest. Other customers, maybe they want the most control possible. And so Sphere is designed from an architecture standpoint to be flexible to whatever the requirements may be. We can deploy in public cloud, private cloud, on-prem, gov cloud, right? Whatever is the preferred place to be deployed, that is absolutely an option. And in terms of deploying on-prem, Sphere is definitely willing and able to kind of assist in that decision-making process, and then also in the deployment process, to make sure that all that goes smoothly and adheres to a lot of the security requirements and protocols for various organizations. The next bit I'll talk about is access and control, right? And abiding by best practices and software for role-based access, right? This is something that Sphere has built into our management portal, right? And so all users are restricted to whatever the administrative team defines in terms of what data that they can access. You can architect it to abide by principles of least privilege, and really just make sure that users are granted specific roles to access specific data. You can limit the visibility of certain media files. So that's something else that's just absolutely paramount to architecting a solution that's going to be viable in these highly regulated industries and in defense in particular.
Yeah, and to add to that, like here we have like the Magic Leap 2 headset in the image, and it's really important, I think, from like hardware up to be compliant. So like the ML devices are, I think to my knowledge, the only true like augmented reality glasses that are TAA compliant. So it's great like having that as the base to start with, and then like layering it up to the top. So and like Jake, how does like Sphere address the security needs?
Yeah, absolutely. So from, let's say, a data security perspective, all data, all traffic is encrypted. All data at rest is encrypted. All servers are behind firewalls. All of these, quintessential security protocols, we absolutely adhere to. And also, whenever this kind of goes back to the flexibility point of deployment. So if it's paramount for IT teams to manage all of the server infrastructure, then they can dictate, right? Where do all of these files get stored? Is it just a blob in Azure? Is it an on-prem file store? All these things, we will work with the organization to navigate whatever their security requirements are, and make sure that our solution is something that's flexible enough to adhere to those. And that's kind of how we think about, how do we deploy and how do we allow IT teams to maintain and continue into the future past deployment with secure solutions.
Yeah, this is that's awesome. Thanks for that, Jake. I think that's super important. And as we, I want to talk a little about we went through all this, like what's next. What's next for our field? Like we work on the edge of edge, right? Like probably like edge squared tech. what do you guys see as the next stage of the evolution of XR, AR? What are some areas you feel passionate about that needs addressing? I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So I could start. So for me, I mean, it wouldn't be a leading tech webinar without the mention of AI, right? So I think the combination of XR and AI is going to be really XR is going to be a tremendous medium for people to experience AI. And I think this really stems from a couple of different things. But the first one is the most common way to interact with AIs today is via a chatbot, which is maybe not the greatest interface for interaction. You kind of need to describe in a query to an LLM, hey, you need some parameters that explain what it is that you're asking about. So you need to do a little bit of explanation in your prompt in addition to asking a question. But with AR, you've got a camera on your face that's looking at whatever you're seeing. And so you can ask the question of, hey, what is this, right? Or how does this thing work? And you can get those answers just based on what you're seeing. And so we kind of see AR as the eyes and ears for AI, right? And you can inform the context. Context is king with all of these things, right? So you can inform the context of what it is that you're asking to get a better response. And better yet, the thing that we're most eager for is kind of the next evolution of this, which is right now, chatbots, right? They just tell you something. They give you some text description. Potentially some of these generative AIs give you images or videos, et cetera. But what would be really, really impactful is not just telling, but showing, right? So if you were to ask the question of, hey, what's the issue with this piece of machinery? And the AI could then respond and say, oh, it looks like you're missing a screw here. Here's the recommended procedure to go and fix this, and maybe even highlight that area of the machinery that you're working on that's missing the screw and direct your attention to something. So that's really what we're seeing as kind of the next big thing for AR and AI in the cross section there. And there's just tremendous potential. Industry is moving super fast on both fronts, and really eager to see how these things converge and help build it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Sorry, Taron.
No, go ahead, Jason.
Between us, between you and I and the audience, Jake and I had a rock, paper, scissors battle on who would be able to talk about AI, because obviously it's such a hot topic, and he cheated, and so he won, so he got to talk about AI. But another area that's actually near and dear to my heart is, I think all the data around the world getting smaller from a corporate perspective, and teams and companies becoming more global and how they approach their business and how they collaborate as teams. There's a lot of value there, but one of the problems that gets represented through a global workforce, and this is for small and large companies, because again, Sphere is a small startup, but we've got our headquarters in California. We have a development engineering team in Switzerland. We have an operations satellite office in Toronto, Canada, and they speak Canadian, so that often gets confusing. But it's this concept of live translation, and for us, we're working to solve this problem, and it's a focus point for ours, and a feature that's going to be that is a part of our roadmap, is the ability to have live translation in headsets. So quite simply, people in immersive collaborative session represented as an avatar, dispersed globally around the world, speaking in their native language, and all the people in that session hearing their native language back in terms of efficiencies, nothing lost in translation, the ability to understand one another better. There's so much value in this one simple feature, and we're really excited about being able to bring that to organizations, is this concept of live translation.
That's so exciting. That's so useful. For me, it's like a little bit mix of both, more on the AI side, but for input I think like there's a huge problem that's keeping AR and like the whole field from progressing like into a like silo of its own, instead of like being tethered to the devices, like from a Prius to like a Tesla, is really bringing like AI into input and like really rethinking what input really means. Like even like from a level of like a keyboard to alphabet to like a controller, right? Like now from thought to like fingers down to two controllers to like typing with lasers on a virtual keyboard on like dead symbols that are like stoic and like not personalized to you is a real problem for me, and it slows down communication a lot. So I think like to your point, to both your points, is bringing that like active GPT element here. Like I want to coin the term here, like large spatial action models is going to be really, really important, where the environment is needed from you and is interacting with you, where you're able to capture it and pass it on easily. So knowledge transfer becomes very easy. And I like to think like that real like AGI, artificial general intelligence, is going to be created in spatial. The like spatial reality is going to be the training ground for AGI. So
well said, Taron. And are you sure you're not a marketer? I mean, you're a chief scientist, but you're coming up with some doozies here. I took that down. Large spatial action models. I appreciate that.
Let's use it, yeah.
And you know, sure. it's a great point, because ultimately, if Sphere's goal is to democratize augmented reality for the masses, or for the enterprise at least, right? You know, why would we let something as trivial as language be a barrier to that, right? So you know, the AI, I think, is becoming table stakes for every technology organization. They have to implement AI as a part of their strategy, and you know, we'll see how that works out. But all relevant points. And the one thing I didn't want to go down, because I didn't want to scare the audience, is there's obviously a path here with Neuralink and using Neuralink and that type of technology for augmented reality. But that's for another webcast.
Yeah, we should do one just on that.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I mean, you know, I think really what we're all talking about here is trying to communicate at the speed of thought, right? Like you do something, or you see something and you want to go and do something about it. How do you capture that intention in a way that is the most intuitive, given what it is that you're trying to accomplish? And AI can certainly aid in that.
Yeah, like that hello, and like that hello is very different for me than it is for you. Like, so I should be able to capture that as a new type of like living symbol in a sense. I'm thinking like we jump into like some sometimes into some questions from attendees.
Sure.
So I'll take one. Is the AR hardware glasses from Anonymous? So is the AR hardware glasses ready for these situations? Where does it work and where does it not yet? Okay, I answer live. I can like take that a little, and then if you, Jake, Jason, if you have anything to add, you can too. It's pretty ready. It's pretty like it's ready in most situations. Like it's ready to go on the manufacturing floor. Like the Magic Leap has been used on for like force on force training in like command and control situations on the field as well, where you can like scan the field, like the, let's say, in an environment, and take that into a training area where you're able to like train within that environment. And like the cool thing with the ML is like there's like camera access, which is super important, where you're able to actually like get access and build on top of the real world, which like most headsets don't provide. And like it's true augmented reality, like as Jake was saying, which is like transparent lenses and like the photon hitting directly to the eye instead of being recycled with the screen. And it's like light, and like with like you can dim certain areas, like segmented dimming. It's I think for most situations it's very good to go.
Yeah, and to build on that, AR hardware is definitely, I mean, it's moving very, very quickly. And I think even the devices that we see today that, like the Magic Leap 2 is a really one of the best in class devices right now. And from what it provides from an optical perspective, absolutely. I mean, so ready to go. I mean, everything looks extremely sharp. The quality is fantastic. I would say absolutely from that standpoint. From other standpoints, like how hardened is the device, how rugged is it? It really depends on the use case, right? But I think in most cases, at least from what we've seen from our customers, it's certainly sufficient. Its ability for connectivity is very good as well, as long as you've got internet wherever you are. The Magic Leap can tap into the Wi-Fi signal and operate at a pretty fast clip rate. So everything is definitely very ready for these real world environments. And we have customers who are using them in those environments today. One thing that I'll say is a bit of a limitation is some of the outdoor environments, those for these optical see-through devices, perhaps can provide a little bit of limitations there. But I mean, in any indoor or semi-outdoor environment, it certainly can be used, right? It just, the experience changes a bit. But overall, I would say absolutely very, very ready for these environments. And yeah, we've got customers doing it right now.
And if I could just add a final point there, I think, it goes without saying the reason why Sphere has built a strategic relationship with Magic Leap is because we do believe it's one of the most performant devices in the marketplace today. And, all the things that we've talked about around pure see-through, advanced hand tracking and interaction, these are all really core strengths of Magic Leap, the Magic Leap 2. But as an independent software provider that is hardware agnostic, our core, one of our additional value propositions is that, we want to make sure that organizations aren't going all in, for lack of a better term, on a specific technology. And for those of you who date as far back as me, you can harken back to the old VHS versus Betamax battle. And some of you might be just scratching your head saying, what the heck is this guy talking about? But there was a day back when VCRs were a thing that, the world had to decide, am I going to be a Betamax person or a VHS person? And for those who chose Betamax, that was a wasted investment. And so, we don't want that type of scenario for our clients, right? So we really promote kind of a best of breed approach, a multi-device approach. And as a software provider, we can support that multi-device approach and make sure that the value that you're receiving through both headset and software continues to work for you guys.
Yeah, that's super important. And we're what we do to help there is, and I think it's really important for like people to actually be able to try this. Both not Sphere will be able to, we're rolling out a program where you can get the headset and then someone will join like remotely to guide you through like what's actually possible, so you can evaluate this. Really good to try out the Magic Leap 2 like that. Okay, I'll take add-on question from another anonymous. How about AR or XR, like for command and control? Is it a good use case for defense, and what are the benefits of it? I'll let Jake or Jason take this one.
Yeah, sure. So we've seen AR and XR use cases for command and control. Absolutely. I think certainly is a great medium. If you think of like traditional like strategic planning and things like this, where you've got, let's say, maybe a table and a command room where people are mapping out different strategies and things like that. You don't necessarily need these physical objects anymore, right? You can do all of that virtually and actually overlay some really situation-specific data on top of what it is that you're trying to map out. So we've had customers in the past visualize maps in AR and collaborate around those maps and draw up specific plans for their initiatives using the maps that they're visualized in AR and collaborate around. So I think absolutely command and control XR is a great medium for those use cases.
And to add on to that, this is a really good question. Like for your customers that adopted AR, how did they get to a consensus that it was time to commit to the project? I'll take like a little stab at it, and then I'll have you add to it. It comes to like doing in around so like few devices to like what, like from our experience, we help get like few devices into the hands of like the team or like the decision makers, and then like join to guide what's possible, and then that's later like evaluated on a small scale and then scaled up. So we've seen like few good examples of that. Jake, if you or Jason, you can add to it.
Yeah, sure.
I can
Go ahead,
I can jump in real quick here. Yeah. So as a salesperson, it pains me to provide a real world answer here, but this is the truth: is that there should be a crawl, walk, run approach when it comes to implementing, especially leading edge technologies like augmented reality, right? Again, there's a lot of data out there that talks about these large enterprise projects. Like ERP is a perfect example of millions of dollars spent and failed project after failed project. We don't want that type of thing for augmented reality. So I think where we've seen our most successful customers and how they've approached this is they've identified a use case. And what I'll say is, they worked with us in terms of solidifying whether that use case was the right use case. And I think there's a number of ways of going about this. But the first way is you look at yourself as an organization and say, where have we had good track records, right? So, some organizations pick the easiest use case because they know they'll get buy-in from the resources, they'll get buy-in from leadership, and it's a simple or an easier project to get started and to complete. And then we can do the ROI analysis to support a business case to do a larger implementation and investment. Certain companies, they say, no, we've got to pick the hardest use case. We've got to pick the one that has the most business impact, because I've got to go to my leadership and say, here's the proposed ROI on this specific initiative, and we believe augmented reality is the way to go to solve this problem. So it's really kind of know yourself and identify the right use case to choose to start your augmented reality journey. And then from there, it really is around, working with a software provider and a partner who will support you throughout the process, right? So again, from a cost of sale perspective, it's probably not the best for a small startup like Sphere to invest resources in setting up a proof of concept or a pilot, but it's things that we absolutely do. It's table stakes for us because the technology is so leading edge. There is an air of sci-fi to it, but we want to remove all that. We want to demystify augmented reality as a business solution for organizations. So, we're invested in supporting all the pilots and POCs that we're a part of to make sure that they're successful moving forward. And so that's really two parts to look at it then is look at yourself and identify the right use case that you believe you'll be able to be successful in, and then look at your partner and the vendor that you're going to choose to go down this journey with, and are they willing, do they have the experience, do they have the want to be in it, holding your hand and take you down the journey together.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like we're here to, I got Knox to just really hold your hand initially, so it's not a hard jump. So okay, I think we have like 1 minute left. One quick question. I love quickly, like, what's the hardest part when integrating with existing IT infrastructure?
Yeah, I'll take this and then Jake can add more detail on it. But, I think that's been a business challenge for all software providers out there, because what we're seeing more and more, especially in large enterprises, is companies aren't taking a one throat to choke or a one hand to shake approach when it comes to their tech stack or their solution stack, right? Most organizations are looking at best of breed products, and these products are coming from independent vendors. And so the ability for these technologies to be able to talk to each other and integrate and exchange data is really important. And so that's one of the things, again, when we look at Sphere, because we were designed, engineered, developed with businesses in mind, we've built out a really flexible API-based integration capabilities. We've established partnerships with some really strong integration providers out there that we leverage their technology to be that next layer up around integration if our core capabilities can't handle it. And we put our money where our mouth is. We're already in the process of reaching out to other, content management solutions, other, workflow guidance, digital work instruction solutions out there. We're reaching out to them first and saying, hey, let's co-develop an integration here so that for our end customers, they can hit an easy button when it's time to choose between their overall solution, and we can go in together holding hands and be stronger together. So really, Jake, if you want to go down a path of going into the specifics, I think we'll probably need another 30 minutes for that. But at a very high level, Sphere itself is built with integration capabilities in mind, and we have a very flexible approach in integrating with existing systems.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Jason.
That was great.
Totally
I think you hit like one of the other questions too, with like the onboarding experience. So thank you, everyone. I think that's it. We went a little overboard. So thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. We hope it was informative and left you better equipped to kickstart or expand your XR project. So we would love to connect on LinkedIn, scan the QR code to get in touch with the Knox team with any questions or getting started. Thank you for our wonderful panelists, Jake, Jason, everyone. Thank you. Hope to see you immersed. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.